Rebecca Kwong is a genius, and this book is physical proof of the fact.
Like talks about like a true crime.
Oh, have you read this one? It's actually really good. This is gonna be my YouTube my YouTube comeback that's gonna get 1 view. It's been like 5 years, but recently I've realized that I've really missed filming and editing and posting content, so I have decided to return. Recently, I also watched a few of my older videos, and they're such a throwback, and it's so good to be able to watch what you were up to years ago, and I feel like years from now, I will look back on this video and be glad that I decided to post it. So even if no one else is watching, I will be watching 5 years from now. Anyway, in this vlog, I hope to complete 2 things. One of them is babel, and the other is this sweater that I have been crocheting for a really long time. Both of these things, this book and this sweater, I started in 2024. Yes, now it is 2026, halfway through 2026 in fact, so it's about time I suck it up and get to them. Anyway, I want to do a little recap, I guess, of where I have been in this book. I'm like this much of the way through, like this much. And the reason I haven't really been able to complete it is because I want to sit down and annotate it really well, and I just don't always have the time for that. Here's a little spoiler-free summary for those who haven't read it. Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, Ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation. There is magic in this, and the magic system revolves around silverworking. Getting into the spoilers a little bit, Professor Lovell is Robin's dad. He went and got Robin from China, but not because he's a loving father or anything, but because he wants to use Robin to make him learn magic and profit off of him. So it's all kind of convoluted right now, and I am waiting with bated breath until it finally makes sense. Anyways, while he's at Oxford, Robin gets involved in this secret society called the Hermes Society, and they are dedicated to stopping British imperial expansion. And by being part of the society and helping them, he is essentially betraying Babel and Oxford. But if he didn't support the society, he would be betraying his motherland. At Babel, Robin has 3 other classmates that are in his year. There is Rami, there's Letty, and Victoire. I believe this friend group is about to collapse beautifully by the end, because right now they're kind of tight-knit, but because they have to be, not necessarily because they like each other. And there is so much tension in this group of friends that I just don't see it lasting at all. And then there's Griffin, who is Robin's half-brother. Professor Lovell is also his dad. Basically, Griffin faked his death and is now working for Hermes, but Professor Lovell doesn't know he's still alive. I am really looking forward to seeing how all of this pans out.
Everything is adjusted, right? Like he...
I actually don't even know where to go.
No, literally, you're just shifting your hands. But it's hard. because it's so rough.
I know.
Yeah. Bump your hands up. And like the hold isn't even like juggish, so you can't like dig your fingers in.
Okay, I'm halfway through Babel and things are getting interesting. The relationships between the four main students is subtly shifting, and it's really interesting to see how that's all happening. And things are getting more serious and there are more stakes involved now. Also, I find it really interesting how Miss Rebecca Kwong has included aspects of the real world into this. So this is taking place during the Industrial Revolution, but in this book it's the Silver Industrial Revolution, where the use of silver in automating a bunch of things is putting a lot of mill workers out of work, and all of that ties into the plot and the storyline and the tensions that are rising now. In addition to that, I also started reading two other books on the side. The first is The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. This book is about Safi, who is a director of magic at a magical school, and I especially like this book because I've read a lot of like dark academia, magical school-esque books, but from the point of view of the students. So reading it from the point of view of a teacher is really interesting and really different. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm halfway through that as well. And the other book that I'm also reading is A Swim in a Pond in the Rain by George Saunders. This book is about the craft of writing. What he does is goes through several Russian essays that are really famous, I think. So you read a bit of the essay and then you read his commentary on the writing devices used and how the author uses certain tactics to convey certain things. I'm actually really liking it so far as well. I'm only 10% of the way through. I'm reading it on ebook, and yeah, super excited to see the rest of that. I haven't read many essays or any short form stories in general, so it's really interesting to see, and it's very different from like the books that I usually read. And then I also recently purchased Save the Cat, which is a very popular book amongst the writing community, and I am also super excited to read this. And speaking of writing, I have been writing a book for several years now, and I say that in quotations because I have been stuck in the curse of chapter 1 for years. And that is basically when you write chapter 1, you read it, realize you want to do it differently, and then you rewrite it, and then you read it, and then you rewrite it, and then you just get stuck in the cycle of rewriting chapter 1 and not going anywhere else. So this year, I really want to make it my goal to continue on and stop getting caught in the curse of chapter 1. And I am going to do this by scrapping all my work and starting over, which ironically sounds very counterproductive. But I think one of the reasons why I have been failing is because I haven't really outlined anything. I've just kind of been going with the flow. So this time around, I really want to outline something and then kind of follow the outline just so I have something to look forward to writing in the future instead of just having to come up with stuff on the spot. During the last couple weeks, I've worked on this one-pager about the premise and like the plot kind of and the conflict and the resolution I want. So it's kind of a one-pager summary of the entire novel. And then now I'm working on breaking that down further into a 3-act structure. I don't think I want to share any specifics about the story, but I do want to share the process of writing. This is my little elevator pitch I've shortened everything down to. I don't think it's perfect, and it definitely will go through multiple edits later on, but this is like, I don't know, kind of the premise. A group of reluctant allies embark upon a heist to free one of their numbers from the clutches of a lost god. During their journey, they accidentally uncover a larger conspiracy and become involved in a rebellion to overthrow the king. In my head, it's kind of YA, but that might change, but I think it pretty much will end up being YA. I feel like at this point, I don't even care if it's published eventually or not. I just, for my own peace of mind, need to finish writing it. It's like I'm unable to move on to anything else until I finish this. In other news, I finished weaving in all my ends on this sweater. So all the ends are weaved in. The next thing I need to do is add buttons and also do some embroidery on the front. I don't know how to do embroidery, but I'm just gonna have to learn. I am following a YouTube tutorial on it, so I'll link it below. I have had this tab of YouTube tutorial open on my laptop for the last 2 years. Like, no matter what I did, that tab has been a permanent fixture on my laptop. I finished reading The Incandescent and I actually really liked it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Instead of the plot being super fast paced and having a lot of action, there were a lot of slower slice of life type of moments where she's just grading papers or talking to students, and I actually really liked that. I did read a bunch of reviews on Goodreads and a lot of people didn't enjoy that. So if a slower paced book is not really your thing, then maybe you wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did. And there is romance, but it's not like heavy on the romance, which I also like, but other people on Goodreads did not like this. So if you are like romance motivated, then maybe it's not your book, but I personally really enjoyed it. My one critique is that there is this one character that shows up halfway through the book that is obviously very sketchy. But the main character, Safi, she thinks of herself as very smart and everyone thinks of her as very smart. So it is surprising to me how she immediately does not clock him as sketchy. Or she kind of does, but she continues just hanging out with him. And I just don't understand why. I feel like it's very out of character for her to do that. And in the end, we find out, spoilers, that he was indeed sketchy. However, there was no sort of closure as to why he did the things he did. I mean, it was kind of vaguely sort of mentioned, but not really. So I would have loved more of a closure on that plot point. And near the ending of the book, there is a point of view change, and the author sneaks in a little second person point of view. I have to say, no one does second person point of view as well as N.K. Jemisin. However, I didn't mind this quite so much, but I know lots of people are like iffy about second person POV. Overall though, I enjoyed it. And I made progress on my sweater. There are buttons now installed. So the only thing left is the embroidery on the front. I want to try it on, but it's actually so hot. I don't know if I want to try on a sweater, but maybe I will. Okay, not too shabby. The sleeves are a bit long. That's my bad. I feel like I should have just made it like this much shorter, but it's not too bad. It's kind of like a vibe. 2 books, and one of them is indeed Babel. I'll talk about the other one first though. I finished reading Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This was my first book by this author that I've ever read, and I really loved it. I ended up giving it 5 stars. This book is about this lady named Agnes who owns a cat shelter, and she is, for various reasons, getting kicked out of her old location and is looking for a new place to rent for this cat shelter, and is having a really hard time because none of the landlords want someone raising dozens and dozens of cats on their property. But finally she finds this one place that's suspiciously cheap, and she takes it because she has no other option. And after being there a while, she learns that her cat shelter is being used as a front for trafficking illegal magical artifacts. And at first she's willing to turn a blind eye to this because she desperately needs a place to rent, so she just ignores all the magical people entering and leaving her place. But eventually she kind of is forced to get involved herself. The magician in question, Havelock, he is infamous because several years ago he started this apocalypse that almost ended the world, so he is like feared across nations. But she's kind of getting to know another side of him, and he's slowly turning into a love interest. I really like how this relationship progresses, and I actually like all the different characters and the dynamics between them in this book. Also recently I've been a big fan of this genre of urban cozy fantasy. I'm a bit hesitant to call it cozy just because there is so much action, but either way, big fan of whatever the genre is. Finally, Babel. Whew. Before I start, I know many people call this book Babel, and it comes from the Tower of Babel, but I grew up calling it the Tower of Babel, so I will continue calling this book Babel. That aside, Rebecca Kuang is a genius, and this book is physical proof of the fact. Sometimes I think about the fact that she is the same age as me, and I am astounded because she is so well spoken and her work is so well written. I truly look up to her as an author. Last year I went to her book tour for Catabasis. I sat in the front row and everything, and just hearing her speak was like mind-boggling. I could only hope to present myself in that way. Maybe one day. Previously, I talked about how I think Robin's group of friends will fall apart eventually, and while I was expecting it, the way it happened was so shocking to me still. I'm not going to talk about it because it's just so good of a plot point that I don't want to spoil it, but I will talk about the group itself. There are 4 members: Robin, who is half Chinese, Rami, who is Indian, Victoire, who is Haitian, and Letty, who is a Londoner, I guess. They all attend Oxford, which is very white dominated, and on top of that it's very male dominated. There's this one scene in the book where Robin realizes that while he and Rami had each other to kind of depend on and relate to, Victoire had nobody because Letty is not really a person of color, and while they are both women, there's a difference between being a woman in a male dominated world and being a woman of color in a male-dominated world. And I've never seen this nuance explored in a work of fiction as deeply as it is in this book, and R.F. Kuang does it so well, it's actually insane. The ending is so bittersweet, I don't even know what to say about it. So, 5-star read, and I'll leave it at that. Aside from that, I did mention I was reading A Swim in a Pond in the Rain, and what happened is that my hold on the ebook ended, so it just got automatically returned, and 2 other people had it on hold after me, so now I can't get it back until those 2 people have read it and returned it. So that might be in a month, 2 months, but it's fine, I can wait. It's no hurry for me to finish that book. I have to say though that I'm not really a short story person, because while reading those short stories, I was kind of bored, but reading the author's commentary and feedback on those short stories and on the writing styles used in those short stories, I actually really like that, so I do want to finish the book. I also started reading Red Rising. I'm actually rereading Red Rising because I'm 100% sure I've read it before, but I don't have it marked as read on Goodreads, and I also don't have a review up for it, which is odd because I make it my business to rate and review every single book I read, so I find it odd that I don't have that done. So in my head, I'm kind of thinking what if I just hallucinated reading this book? So I'm rereading it. If I did read it, it was years ago, and the only thing I remember from it is that there was this one character named Severo, or Severin, and I remember that he reminded me of Nico D'Angelo from Percy Jackson, who is my favorite character in Percy Jackson aside from Percy Jackson himself. So I think I liked Severo, and that's all I remember, aside from the gladiator type school they had going on. I also remember reading book 2 after Red Rising, and I don't think I liked that one. So I think I'll just reread Red Rising and leave it at that. Next up on my reading list is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which I have read before as well. I read the whole first trilogy of it, but I wanted to reread it too. The reason I want to reread it is because last year I finished Wind and Truth, which is the 5th book in the Stormlight Archive, and it's a completely different series from Mistborn, but there are a few characters that are world hoppers and kind of show up in both series. So after reading the most recent Stormlight Archive book, I kind of wanted to go back to Mistborn and compare how those characters are in each of the series. And I do enjoy Brandon Sanderson's books in general, so I know I'll have a good time. Stormlight Archive I've read twice, Warbreaker I've read twice, so why not Mistborn as well? But that will all have to wait for the next reading vlog because that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If anyone is watching, I am super excited to be back on YouTube and creating content, even if no one is watching. I do really enjoy it and I have missed it, so this is super fun for me. I hope you all have a good day or night wherever you are. Happy reading, and I'll see you next time.